They say trust is like a muscle, you have to work it every day. Well, my wife's been working real hard at the gym lately. 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. Cardio, yoga, sauna, everything but coming home early. The neighbors call that discipline. I call it something you watch. Names. Frank Doyle, 58, born and raised in Round Rock, Texas. I spent 40 years building houses, turned a 3-man carpentry crew into Doyle Construction, and sold it last spring for more money than I'll ever need. When the papers were signed, I promised myself one thing: no more noise. So I bought a brick place out near the hill country, planted some trees, learned how quiet can sound. My dog, little Frank, keeps me company. My wife Linda keeps the calendar full. She's 41, sharp, confident, the kind of woman who can light up a room without trying. We met at a charity dinner 6 years ago. I was a widower with too much silence and not enough laughter. She brought both back into my life. I thought we balanced each other. Her charm, my steadiness. Turns out you can't balance what you can't see. Last Wednesday started ordinary enough. My F-150 died in the HB parking lot. Starter finally gave up, so I took Linda's Lexus, the one that smells like leather and Chanel, always spotless. She treated that car like a second skin. I figured I'd swing by Harbor Fit around 7, surprise her, maybe grab a smoothie, maybe just wave. No big thing. Life doesn't need big things to crack open. The sun was still up when I pulled into the gym lot. Asphalt shimmering, that kind of Texas heat, where even the shadows sweat. Through the glass, treadmills rolled like conveyor belts. Pop music thumped songs about forever and good bodies. A security guard walked toward me before I'd even parked. Big guy, shaved head, easy smile. His badge said Eddie. "Hey man," he said, waving. "You're early today?" She forgot this. He held up a black gym bag. I asked. "Yeah, your wife. Her husband dropped this off earlier." My hand froze on the wheel. "Her husband?" Eddie nodded, casual as weather. "Guy in the gray Range Rover. Happens all the time. Folks forget stuff. We just pass it along." I didn't correct him, just smiled the way polite Texans do. "Appreciate it." I parked, rolled down the window, and let the heat settle around me. The bag sat on the passenger seats, mall heavy, like it knew something I didn't. For a minute, I told myself to take it inside. Play dumb. Wait. Curiosity is a muscle too. Mine had been working overtime. I unzipped it. Towel, perfume, phone charger, a man's Rolex Submariner black dial, still ticking. Under that, a folded t-shirt from District 23 boutique in Dallas. Men's large, warm to the touch. Beneath it, a crumpled receipt. The Panhouse Restaurant, Austin, TX dinner, for two, $184. For 2 tip, 20% name. Jason Reed. The AC hummed. My heartbeat didn't jump. It dropped like a stone in still water. I folded everything back exactly as I found it, zipped the bag, rested my hand on top. At 7:48, Linda came out, ponytail damp, phone in hand, glowing like she'd run from a dream. "Oh honey," she said, bright, "you fixed the truck." "No," I said, "took your car." She blinked, smiled fast. "That's fine. Why didn't you text me?" "I liked the view," I said, lifting the bag. "Eddie said your husband dropped this off." The smile cracked, just for a second. "My what?" "The guard said your husband brought it earlier." She laughed thin. "Oh, that, he must have meant one of the trainers. Everyone jokes around here." I nodded, slow. "Yeah, must be." We drove home with the radio low, the kind of silence that fills the spaces between notes. She scrolled her phone like it kept her breathing. A name flashed across the screen. "Jason." I said nothing, just watched the headlights slide over the dashboard, catching the wedding ring she never took off. That night, while she slept, I sat in the dark kitchen with a glass of whiskey. The bottle made a soft glug like a heartbeat underwater. I opened the gym bag again, turned the Rolex in my hand. The second hand swept smooth and steady, calm, merciless. I thought about every beam I'd measured twice, every nail driven straight. There's no rush in real work. You build, you fix, or, when the time comes, you dismantle. I didn't feel angry. Anger is noise. I'm done with noise. So I made myself a promise. No yelling, no begging, no tears. I was going to measure. You don't burn 40 years of patience on one lie. You find out how deep it runs. Morning came smelling like coffee and dog food. Sunlight striped the kitchen table. Linda moved upstairs, slower than usual. Thinking? Maybe. Or just careful. Liars move like everyone else, just quieter. I walked little Frank around the block. Neighbors waved. Sprinklers hissed. Normal life hides rot real well. By 9, I drove the Lexus back to Harbor Fit and parked across the street. Morning crowd this time, retirees and yoga moms. Eddie leaned against his booth with a cup of sweet tea. Morning, boss, he called. She forget something again. Just curious, I said. About the guy in the Range Rover. He grinned. Jason Reed, trainer here. Real popular. Your wife's one of his top clients. Good for her. They've got the same energy, he said. Work real well together. Same energy. That usually means someone's forgotten who they married. Back home, I dialed an old number from memory. Carl Weston, the voice rasped. It's Frank Doyle. Well, I'll be damned. Need a quiet favor, I said. Just eyes. Trainer named Jason Reed. Harbor Fit. A pause. You think he's sleeping with Linda? I think he's getting paid too much for fitness. Carl chuckled. Give me 3 days. 3 days later, Carl walked into my workshop with 2 gas station coffees and a manila folder. He set it on the bench. Didn't take long. Inside the folder, photos. Linda in Fredericksburg, sitting across from a younger man at a patio restaurant. Fairy lights overhead, wine glasses catching the glow. Jason's hand resting easy on hers. Another shot, the two of them walking down Main Street, his arm brushing her waist like it belonged there. TIMSTAMP- last weekend. Guy's 32. Divorced, Carl said. Got fired once in Dallas. Same reason. Boundary issues with clients. Nothing criminal, but it's a pattern. I studied the photos. You sure these are recent? Metadata doesn't lie. And, here's the cherry. He slid another page forward. Hotel invoice. Blisswooden. Room 214. Checked in Friday at 2:41 p.m., checked out Sunday. 11:05. I exhaled slow. Efficient. Carl watched my face. You going to blow up? Or you going to build a plan? I smiled faintly. You know me. Measure twice. Cut once. That night, I read the Harbor Fit membership agreement. Halfway down section 4.2. Trainers are prohibited from personal or romantic relationships with active clients. Violation may result in immediate termination. There it was. A rule written by people who'd already seen this story play out. Linda came home humming. Hair still damp. Gym bag on her shoulder, the other one. Not the black duffel. She kissed my cheek. You want leftovers? Sure, I said. Good workout. She smiled. Best one all week. I believed her. After dinner, she scrolled through her phone while the evening news murmured in the background. Each new message lit her face, just enough for me to see the smile she kept to herself. Private, unshared. When she went to bed, I stayed on the couch, blue light flickering across the walls. On the coffee table, the photos lay face down, cards already marked. I called Carl. I owe you. Buy me a beer sometime, he said. What's next? Something clean. I said. Something that sticks. He chuckled. That's your signature. Before turning in, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Harbor Fit's general manager. Mr. Price. Professional. Brief. I told him I had information regarding a policy violation and preferred to discuss it in person. When I hit send, something inside my chest clicked like a lock sliding home. Morning came quiet. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when Linda came downstairs, bright and breezy. You okay? She asked. Never better, I said, thinking about some repairs. She kissed the top of my head and left for her private stretching session. I watched her taillights fade, then said to the empty kitchen, time to measure again. Saturday arrived warm and clear, smelling of cedar and sunlight. I sat on the porch with my coffee while a blue jay hopped the fence. Little Frank snored at my feet, legs twitching through some dream only dogs get to have. Inside, the house slept. Linda was still upstairs. Her phone charged quietly on the nightstand. When you've built houses long enough, you learn to feel it when something shifts inside the walls, when the frame goes just a hair off. You don't panic. You reach for your tools. By 7:30, I was at my desk. I logged into our joint accounts. In 10 minutes, I removed her as an authorized user on the MX card, canceled the Harbor Fit auto, stopped payments to the salon and the subscription boxes. Not out of spite, out of principle. A man chooses what he funds. Next call was Lexus Financial. The RX was titled in my name. I had the primary fob. I asked them to deactivate the spare. We'll update within the hour. The agent said, that's how you close valves. Quiet, legal. Final. At 9, I printed 3 things. Carl's photos, the gym's policy section, and a short statement of facts. I placed them in a folder labeled Policy Concern. Then I called Mr. Price. I'm not here for drama, I said. I'm trying to protect your reputation. One of your trainers is crossing a line. A sigh. You'd be surprised how often this happens. Can you bring what you have? I can. And I want it handled discreetly. Understood. At 10:30, I drove to Harbor Fit. Sunlight bounced off chrome. Inside smelled like disinfectant and ambition. Mr. Price met me in his glass office clean desk. Framed degrees, a bowl of mints, a man who fixes problems before they grow teeth. I handed him the folder. I'm not asking for anything, just honesty. He skimmed, then exhaled. That's clear. Jason's talented, but this violates policy. It's your rule, I said. I'm just pointing at it. Give me until Friday. We shook hands. Firm. Professional. I left knowing the wheels were already turning. That afternoon, Linda came downstairs in yoga pants, smile just a little too careful. The gym called, she said. My payment bounced. Did you change something? Banks update systems, I said, sipping my coffee. Can you fix it? Soon, she shrugged, kissed my cheek. Don't forget dinner with the Crawfords tomorrow. Wouldn't miss it. After she left, I stood in the doorway watching the Lexus glide away, polished and untouched. I opened the second duffel bag I'd bought the day before, identical to hers. Inside, I placed a wedding photo, a copy of the gym's policy, and a note in my own handwriting. Every gym has a code of conduct, so does marriage. I zipped it shut and set it by the door. Clouds rolled in that afternoon, wind rattled the screen. I sat in my recliner, little Frank at my feet, listening to the house settle. If Linda noticed the tightening lines, the missing money, the quiet distance, she didn't say a word. People in denial rarely do. That night, rain tapped the roof as I stared at the ceiling fan turning slow. Linda slept beside me, unaware the floor beneath. Her life was already shifting. Sometimes, revenge doesn't announce itself. Sometimes, it's just the sound of a valve closing. Friday came dressed like any other day, but I woke with a pulse in my hands. The kind that knows something is about to give. The sky hung dull and silver over the hill country. Clouds pulled thin like worn sheet metal. The coffee tasted burnt. Or maybe I was just paying closer attention. Upstairs, Linda moved around humming. Leggings on, trainer tank pulled tight. She called down. You okay, Frank? You look serious. Just thinking about old projects, I said. She smiled and let it go. People hiding something don't like questions, and they don't ask them either. At 4:45, she left for Harbor Fit, said she had a new program to try. I watched her taillights disappear down the drive, then grabbed my keys. The Lexus started smooth and quiet. I parked a block from the gym, same as before. Inside, the lights were bright off mirrors and chrome. Pop music bounced overhead, too cheerful for what was about to happen. Through the glass, I spotted her on a treadmill near the front. Jason stood beside her, lean young, wearing that confident grin men get when they think the room belongs to them. He adjusted her stride, fingers lingering where they shouldn't. She laughed and tossed her hair. I checked my watch, top 5:42 p.m. right on schedule. My phone buzzed. Mr. Price. We'll handle it now. You're welcome to observe quietly. I stepped inside, eyes down, scrolling my phone. The air hit cold sweat, soap, disinfectant. Eddie nodded from his post. Evening, Mr. Doyle. Evening. He hesitated, then thought better of it. Mr. Price came out of his office with a clipboard, motioned Jason over. Calm voice. Firm. No scene. Jason laughed once, nervous, and followed him down the hall. The blinds shifted shut. 10 minutes passed. Slow ones. Treadmills kept running, but heads turned. Linda slowed, checked her watch, looked toward the hall. Her foot tapped. She already felt it. When the office door opened, Jason came out, pale, gym bag over his shoulder. No shouting. No explanations. Just that particular silence that means effective immediately. He walked through the lobby without looking up. Linda froze. Then she saw me. I stood by the counter, hands in my pockets, calm as still water. The desk clerk glanced between us and handed me the black duffel. Here you go, sir. You wanted Mrs. Doyle to get this. Thank you, I said, setting it on the counter. Linda approached, voice low. Frank, what are you doing here? Making sure policies are followed. Her eyes flicked toward the office. Did you talk to him? I did. Turns out, integrity still matters here. You humiliated me, she whispered. No, I said evenly. You did that yourself. She stepped closer. You had no right. I had every right, I said, meeting her eyes. I paid for the membership, the trainer, the car you drove here. I was funding this whole arrangement. Behind the counter, The clerk swiped her card, then frowned. Mrs. Doyle, your payment method's been removed. You'll need to set up a new one. Linda's breath caught. She turned to me. You cut me off. I stopped paying for something that wasn't worth keeping. People pretended not to watch. They always do. But the room felt tight with quiet attention. I nodded toward the duffel. That's yours. There's something inside you should read. She didn't move. Eddie cleared his throat. Everything all right, Mr. Doyle? Everything's fine, I said, just closing a few open accounts. He nodded once. Respect. I turned to leave. Frank, Linda said behind me. Please. I stopped just long enough to say, I build houses for a living. I know when a foundation's gone. Then I walked out. Outside, the lot glowed orange under the sinking sun. Jason stood by his car, shoving gear into the trunk. He looked like he wanted to say something. I met his eyes and shook my head once. That was enough. The Lexus seat was cool when I sat down. In the mirror, the gym shrank behind Melinda, still inside, clutching the bag, motionless. The sky burned red and gold, the color of endings. The next morning felt lighter. Sun through the blinds, dust drifting slow, the house quiet, not the hiding kind. I made coffee and stepped onto the porch. Oak trees moved lazy in the breeze. Little Frank lay at my feet, tail tapping now and then like he understood. Linda didn't come home, didn't call. I figured she was driving until the silence caught up with her. Some lessons take distance. At 9, Mr. Price texted. Situation resolved. Contract terminated. Appreciate your discretion. Discretion, a good word for men my age. A week passed. I heard Jason moved south. No drama. Just policy. Quiet judgment lasts longer than shouting. Linda's cards stopped working. The Lexus fob went dead. Mortgage notices went to her email. Nothing cruel. Just doors closing that should have shut earlier. I spent more time at the VA, helping younger vets with paperwork. Listening. Listening's real work. On Sundays, I drove FM 1431 with the window cracked, barbecue smoke drifting across the road. Sometimes I passed the Panhouse and smiled, not bitter, clear. I still wear my wedding ring, not out of hope, out of respect. You don't erase history. You learn from the blueprints. My son called one night. You okay, Dad? Better than I've been, I said. House is level again. He laughed. You always knew how to fix things. Some just take longer, I said. The porch light buzzed. Little Frank waited by the door. The world was quiet again, not empty. Steady. Linda chose a man who lifted weights. I chose to lift my dignity. Weights come down. Dignity stays up, so if you're listening, don't waste your voice shouting. Take back your calm. Let silence do the work. Peace isn't weakness. It's a man laying his tools down after the job's done right.